All right, y'all. Welcome back to yet again another episode of the First Gems podcast, brought to you by your favorite cousins turn co-hosts. And we're here sharing all things first gen perspective on the come up with community and all things culture. So I am your lovely host today, Anna, and I'm joined by none other than Tanina. And today, y'all, we have a very, very special guest with us. We have Mr. Dayo Okeniyi, who is an actor, community builder, and a philanthropist coming from the motherland, Nigeria, and Kenyan roots. And we're so excited to have you. Really, really, this is the first for us. We've never had an actor. So,
That's what's
yeah,
up.
you
Thanks
are
for
a
having me, y'all.
first. Absolutely. So, welcome to the First Gems. Please let us know a little bit more about you, your background, and just where you are today.
Yeah, from the top. Dayo Okeniyi, born in Nigeria. My father's Nigerian, my mother's Kenyan. And a lot of people always think I was born here in America, but I wasn't. I was born in Nigeria, raised in Nigeria, grew up in Lagos. Went to boarding school in Auditions State. Actually went halfway through high school in Lagos. I went to Green Springs. And then in Alashore before coming to America when I was 15. When I came to America, I was in Indiana and really bounced around all over the place. Atlanta, New York, LA. Atlanta really is home now. I share a bit of time between Atlanta and LA, but Atlanta really has been LA. Atlanta has really been home in the last few years. And then currently I'm in Chicago, cold ass Chicago, filming the show that I'm on right now, which is Dark Matter, which is on Apple TV Plus, and we're currently in the second season of that show. So yeah, I'm an actor. That's my passion. It's what I've always wanted to do. I didn't go to college for that though. I went to college for visual communications design and business finance, but acting was always a hidden passion of mine. I said, let me give it a try, see what happens. If it doesn't work, I'll go back to Nigeria. I'll do my NYC. Y'all know the drill.
Yeah.
And yeah, it kind of really worked out for me. I got the Hunger Games, like you mentioned, my first year in LA, which is crazy. And then that just snowballed into some kind of a career, and I've been doing it ever since. So yeah, that's really me in a nutshell. I mean, broad strokes, but we got time. We're probably gonna delve
Yeah.
into some stuff.
We'll get into
But yeah,
it.
that's who I am. You mentioned philanthropist. Yeah, I work with Red, which is an organization that they raise money for the Global Health Fund to help with AIDS relief in sub-Saharan Africa. You probably know Red if you bought a red iPhone or some red sneakers from Nike or a red Cadillac or something. Those proceeds go directly to the Global Health Fund. So as a Reducator, which is an ambassador for Red, we help sound the alarm on that stuff and let people know about Red and how that whole initiative works. And then I have PVO, which is for the culture. I started PVO 7 years ago now, which is crazy. 7 years ago. And yeah, we just do community-based, cause-based events for the culture. We want to create safe spaces for people of color to go and have a great time and fully be themselves. We wanted to completely rethink the whole idea of networking and it not just being something where you go to get something, but being a place where you go to give something. So with PVO, we've done events all over the place: New York, DC, Atlanta, Nigeria, Ghana, London. Not only do we go, then we throw parties. Obviously, we want people to come have a great time. We try to work with a local NGO in all these different cities. So, for example, in New York, we worked with Cool Kids, which is an urban outreach program. In DC, we worked with Distant Relatives. They give haircuts to the homeless and feed the homeless and sometimes try to prepare homeless people for job interviews. In Nigeria, we worked with African Health Now. Their whole initiative is to mitigate the infant mortality rate in Nigeria, which is crazy. It's the second highest in the world.
Absolutely.
For no reason, because we're such a rich country. So we work with them. And yeah, so that's just an idea of how we come into a space, have a great time. You come to our party, you turn up, you have a great time. And then we say, hey, while you're buying bottles, you could not buy one bottle and give that money to this cause or go do this. Or the next day after, if you got a hangover, why don't you feed the homeless while you're struggling with the Advil and sunglasses and all that. We just try to do a little bit of both. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the elevator pitch
There
of who
you
Dayo
go.
Okeniyi is. So
Oh, that's dope.
yeah.
Yeah, like everything alignment. And I'm like, okay, Anna, I see why you brought him on as a guest too. Like, we resonate with so many things that you
Very
do and what you're about. And that's amazing. I'm sure we're going to dive in. But
Oh, absolutely. And you were right on, Tanina. I was like, as soon as we had connected, I was like, oh, yeah, we need you on the pod because everything you just
Oh,
said,
dope.
maps directly to what we're, focused on here at the First Gem. So once again, super, super, super grateful to have you. And let's get into this. Hey, where else to start but the beginning? So let's think back to childhood and upbringing. Dayo, you shared a lot of influences come from your Nigerian heritage as far as like where you are now. So just curious, what is your story growing up? And how did your upbringing, cultural background shape your aspirations and outlook, and that enabling you to pursue acting as a career?
I don't know if it's because I'm also Christian and I'm currently doing Lent right now. So a lot of the last 40 days has been for those of you who don't know, if you're not people of the Christian faith or Jewish people, Lent is a period of 40 days where you fast or you abstain from something. It's an exercise to grow closer to God and spirituality. So the fact that you say, let's go back, I've been doing a lot of going back the past 35 days. I think we have 5 more days till the end of Lent. But it's crazy to me that when I think the older I get, I'm 36 now, I'll be 37 in June. The older I get, like I feel so much connected to who I was growing up initially. And I think that's a sign that you're doing something right, that you don't look back and you're completely like, oh my God, you can't recognize who you used to be. I think, no, that's not to say that I haven't done a full circle with my personality. Like every other person I've, tested out different personalities, tested out different, identities of who I wanted to be through my, teens and 20s and 30s. But in my 30s, I found myself going back to the core of who I was. And, growing up in Nigeria, I'm the youngest of 5. I have a brother, 3 sisters, and then it was me. I was born in Jos originally, but I moved to Lagos when I was 1. And beautiful childhood, man. I grew up in a very, very amazing home. My parents are still together till today. I don't necessarily, I think I had the best of both worlds because my father was very traditional Nigerian Yoruba father, but he too had a lightning strike on his life in that he was the first from his family to go to college. Not just the first to go to college, but the first to go to college in the United States.
Yeah.
And that was such a fulcrum shift in his life and the lives of everybody in our family who came after him. So there are a lot of things like when people say, oh, like, your parents like against you becoming an actor or something like that. Like my father didn't really show it to me. He's very reasonable. He's like, okay, why do you want to do this? And as long as you can put together a plan as to why you want to do this, he's like, okay, what's your end game? At what point are you going to go, this is not working? And you say, this is the time. And he goes, okay. So when we come knocking on the door to disturb you because it's not working, it's because you have told us this is your blueprint and it's not working. So he always had this way of, if you can think yourself through it very logically and pragmatically, I'm with you. And if you can't, then there's a problem. Whereas my mother was extremely creative. She's a British literature professor. She loves prose. I always tell people, I'm a product of nepotism because she put me in my first play when I was like in the 4th grade. She was like, you're going to be Joseph.
Love
in the
it.
nativity. I said, okay, I bet. So, when I said I wanted to do that, she's like, go for it. My mother's always been like, go for it, whatever, just go for it. So having that should let you know the type of childhood I had. Nothing was insane. Nothing was off limits. Everything was all about creativity or sports or academics. My sisters are extremely academic. My brother is a pilot in the Nigerian Air Force. And so we all were just very much encouraged to do whatever it is we wanted to do, but be the best at it. Have a game plan at it. What are you going to do? How are you going to execute on this? So excellence was never something that was sacrificed in the pursuit of your passions. You know what I mean? So, man, I love growing up. I love growing up in Nigeria. I think, you guys might be able to relate in the sense that, hard work is our personality as Africans. You know what I mean? It's just who we are. It's a healthy competition for the most part. Yeah, there are parts of our culture that perverts it and it becomes like toxic, and we can get into that as well. But I think just having a baseline of waking up every day and trying to be the best you can at something is something I take pride in, a moniker of what it means to be a Nigerian.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Whatever it is that wherever we're known in this world, we're just known for that guy's a hard worker, that guy's a hustler, that guy's a whatever, So it's like, yeah, I love that. I love the fact that I grew up in Nigeria because, that was imprinted on me at a very, very early age. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I think we're just naturally very creative people. Nigerians specifically, we're just ostentatious, creative people.
Absolutely.
I think that's a beautiful thing. And then my Kenyan side is very, very polite, very respectful, very docile, very humble. So I'm always that's always at war inside of me as a person. And I think I truly believe I have the best of both worlds in that case. Work hard, do what you got to do, but let your work do the talking. Be quiet, sit back, let people get their shine. Don't be the first to speak. Don't be, and I used to fight. I used to wrestle with that in my mind. I'm actually writing a project that deals with that right now, and the struggle that a lot of us immigrants go through, where we're always in this tussle within ourselves as to humility versus, being the biggest, brightest, boldest version of yourself. And that struggle that happens in identity in that space. But the older I get, I'm like, no, you can live in that. That's fine. You don't have to be one or the other. Just live in it. Wake up one day and, shit on your haters, and then wake up one day and then you go, God, forgive me. Be humble.
Exactly.
It's all good. It's a beautiful contract.
Balance. Yeah. No, that is true. I feel like upbringing, and maybe Tanina, you also feel the same way, but like when you look back at like a lot of the times growing up in a Nigerian household and you felt like certain things were just like either strict or you just didn't understand like the ways in which our families were molding us to be. But honestly, like you just said, Dayo, reflecting as an adult and saying like, oh, I'm kind of glad that like y'all were really firm with me on this. And at the same time, reassuring that like the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
And I think that sort of duality that we carry is like being able to sort of turn on the best aspects of ourselves that's needed in a particular moment. So what you just said, I'm like 1,000% resonating.
Yeah. I definitely resonate on the point you made about how you had the best of both worlds, even with your parents. Because I have a super creative mom. My dad is creative too. He did. He was a DJ, but he also never shied away from telling. Like, he not full time, but like, he just
on the side.
Still well known.
Shout out to DJ Rhythm.
Very well known.
DJ Rhythm?
Yes, Rhythm. Like RIDDIM.
Don't play with him.
So Redeem Christian Church took their name from him.
Yes, they took that. He will tell you. He said, I was with Snoop Dogg. I was with this person.
Okay, Snoop.
But anyway, like he didn't shy away from making an emphasis on how important education was too, like typical Nigerian, all of that. But I also feel like growing up in an environment where your parents kind of let you explore the things that you want to do and just emphasizing the fact that like, if this is your passion, go for it and be the best you can at it. I think that is like, that's ideal. And it's great to grow up in a environment where you're not pigeonholed into just one thing. So I love that you called that out, and I definitely resonate with that as well.
Yeah. I just think there are a lot of like Nigerians that have the same story, and it's funny whenever people want to talk to me, they want to relate with that thing of I got disowned with my family. They said music. You want to be a musician? You want to be a DJ? No, all that stuff. Like no, I didn't have that. So I'm just lucky that was the case for me. It's funny. My father would always say that he felt that way. He just didn't do it in front of me. He'd be like, he'd go and ask my sisters, and be like, this one that Dayo wants to go to Hollywood. What do you think? And so he tried to talk to everybody around me. Maybe somebody would talk some sense into me. Maybe he just didn't want to be the one to break my dreams. But he never said it to me. So I was very, very lucky with that. Extremely lucky with that. Because just that alone, man, the people who are able to leave home without their parents' blessings and able to make something of themselves, I can't even imagine that.
Exactly.
Honestly, can't even imagine that. That's real hard work. Because every day when I was in LA and eating ramen noodles and in an apartment with 4 other guys and sleeping on a mattress on the ground and pick up the phone and you call your parents, you say, well, last day you can come and sleep on the couch. It was always like an idea, like at the end of the day, I'm not going to be on the street. Like I'm going to go.
Yeah.
That is such an amazing safety net. You know what I mean? We joke about it till today. Me and my sisters are like, man, if, they start, launching nuclear weapons from Russia or Trump goes crazy or something, like, we'll just go back to Ogbomosho in your states. We're going home, Nobody's, there's nothing, no one's trying to bomb us back home for the most part.
Right.
So that's such an incredible safety net to have. And I really had that. And I really attribute a lot of that to that and my faith and things like that for sure. But would you say would both of you say you grew up with predominantly Nigerian culture in the household?
Absolutely. Well, Tanina, do you want to quickly go into because Tanina has an interesting.
Yeah, for sure. So when I was younger, I moved to Nigeria when I was about 2. and I stayed there till I was 7. So I had that gap where I was living in Nigeria. And then after that, I came after 9/11. My mom was like, okay, I need my baby back. Because she was in the US, my dad was in Nigeria, and then I came over here when I was 7 and stayed ever since. Most of my upbringing and my influence has been on the American side. And it wasn't until I went to college, started joining the Nigerian student associations and the dance teams and things like that, then I started taking trips back to Nigeria every 2 years.
Oh,
I
nice.
like really reconnected. Yeah. So very interesting.
When you say
grew up very Nigerian.
So
and
where in
had
Nigeria?
an
You were in
accent and
Lagos, or were
everything.
you in Abuja,
Came
or where
out
in Nigeria
here,
were you
American, and
for that
then
little time?
yeah.
From the East.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
I think so.
No, yeah, I like where in Nigeria were you?
Abia State.
Abia, okay,
Yeah,
the East.
in
My
Aba.
father, Aba, my dad worked with Nigerian customs for his whole career of over 30 years, and he was posted in Aba. So I went to Aba when I was like 1, or
Wow.
2, 3. I really did. Yeah, years ago. My sister went to my eldest sister, Marinike Buki, we call her. She went to Owerri Federal Government Girls College, and to get there, you had to go through Aba or something weird like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's what I heard. Okay, you going to Aba? All right.
Yes. So I'm an Aba girl. I'm a village girl.
No, an Aba girl. Hey, don't sleep on Aba folks, man. Did they make like the one company that made like the first car in Nigeria? It was like
really?
from Aba State or something like that. Listen,
maybe I need to look into the
I'll
facts,
take it.
but
That sounds like
right. You know what? Just great people doing great things.
We're cousins.
Yes, we're cousins.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Well, co-host.
Maybe got married into maybe one of you is from like Anambra or something. Or
no, true.
Abia State.
Okay.
Yeah,
Abia State. That's what's up.
Yeah, I love this.
It's so funny. I'm actually writing a movie right now called Ubanje. Does that ring a bell for you guys at all?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What genre? I know we're so. I'm interested. What's the genre?
Yeah, Ubanje is it's Igbo. It's a psychological thriller.
I figured.
And basically, it's about this woman who has a daughter, and her daughter is being plagued by this Obanja spirit, the Obanja mythology, which basically is, born to die, children who are, and then we're tying the whole thing in identity that people who have lost their culture or lost their way are the targets for the Obanja. And in order to save her daughter from being killed early, she has to reconnect with her culture to rid herself of this curse. So yeah, it's fully in the Igbo culture. It's a Black lead. I'm actually writing it and producing it. I'm not even going to act in it at all. At this point, the studio wants me to play one part in there, and I was like, I don't know, because they wanted me to direct it as well. If I direct this, it'll be my directorial debut, and I don't want to. I'm not one of those people who like. If I'm going to direct it, I just have to direct it. I can't be in it as well. But it's Igbo actually. Co-wrote it with this other writer, Nani, and Nani is Igbo. The genesis of the idea was hers, and I thought it was so amazing because Yorubas, we have that same mythology as well. We call it Apiku. And I was like, oh man, why did when I saw it, my agent brought it to me. Actually, Konica brought it to me, my manager. She was like, hey, this, because I'd done a movie with Universal called Emperor some years ago. And they were like, we have this script. There's this young girl, Nani, very bright writer. She wrote this thing. What do you think about it? And I just read the title and I was like, it's such a good idea. I already knew roughly what it would be about because I grew up knowing about that mythology. And it was very cool. So yeah, shout out to Evos, man. Shout out to y'all.
I love that. Let us know when it's released because we will be. Let's have a viewing party.
First in line, right? No, I mean,
let's collab.
So I'm filming the second. Honestly, I might hit you all up for like to consult because I've been talking to a lot of my Igbo friends as to what do you know about this mythology growing up. I've talked to some of my friends' parents because there's not really that much literature about it online, or a lot of African culture is very much oral. So I've been talking to a lot of my friends about it, and they've been telling me about, oh, isn't it the thing where as a kid you're born, and if you have like a birthmark, they say you're on a Banja child, and like, or if you get sick a lot as a kid, so we just glean a lot of that stuff and use it to create the narrative of the story, and so if you Banja, by the time you pass the age of 10, you've beat the curse. You go, okay, interesting. So parents have to make sure their daughter survives the age of 10 to break the curse. So check. Other things like that, or like you need like a witch doctor to save the child. So, okay, cool. Use that as well. I think they call it like a DBL, something like that.
Yeah, I love that. Our family are like historians, so if you need,
really,
Igbo culture stuff. I mean, not like by profession, but so many stories that I know about our village and our culture. Every time I go back home, I'm always asking questions. And what I do is I typically get kind of transparent and I share those things out on Instagram to my friends. And they're like, oh my gosh, like so cool. So definitely like let us know and we'll ask around.
For sure. When last were you guys both home?
Just this December. After I saw you, I was going home.
Nice. Yeah, I was back too this December as well. But prior to this December, do you go back like every year, or do you go back like every other year, or like once every 5 years? Or I haven't been
like
back since 2001.
Every 2 to 3.
Mm-hmm.
2 to 3 years. Okay, so fairly often. Oh, so y'all are very much planted in the culture. Very much planted. Okay. You know, sometimes I gotta see. I gotta see.
Don't worry. We'll keep it, like you said, with this project and just any other opportunities to connect. Like we'll definitely talk more offline because I feel like there's so much for us to collaborate on in so many things that you're in. So again, like the fact that this is happening, I'm just like perfect. Like let's build from here.
Very dope. Yeah, very dope.
Okay, cool. Let me get right back to this question because I really want to know, based on what you just shared, Dayo, around your upbringing and really having like these moments of like, let me be humble, but let me also strive for excellence. Talk to us about how it was working and being a part of such major films like The Hunger Games and Terminator Genesis. And as we know, those are like blockbuster classics that even our parents, you know, I'm pretty sure our parents all know who Arnold Schwarzenegger is.
Yeah.
Talk to us about some of those like experiences and some of the lessons that you learned while being on set.
Yeah. It still truly blows me away. It'll never be normal. Every day I go to work, I'm still like, I can't believe this is my life. Hunger Games was such an amazing experience in the sense that it was 2000, and I'm gonna go back to when I graduated. So I'm gonna show my age a little bit. I graduated college 2009, and right after college, I just really felt in my soul, like I just really felt God was talking to me because I used to act when I was a lot younger. You know, I was always I always did plays and, you know, dancing and rapping, all this crazy stuff when I was in high school. Like college was like, okay, it's time to put that stuff aside and to you know, get serious with life. And so when I went to college, like the creative side of me was very dormant for a very, very long time. And then when I got to my senior year, you know, I pretty much completed all my hours, all my credits, and I had some extra time to fit in some stuff. So I was like, you know, I'm gonna throw in like acting. There was like an acting class. It was like an improv class, you know, acting 101. I was like, oh, cool. You know, you could always use some public speaking type of stuff, you know, at that point, going into the job workforce and going to be doing a lot of job interviews. I was like, let me just polish up on, you know, your diction and being eloquent and all that stuff. So I took this class and it was such a reawakening in me because the guy who taught that class, Stephen Pierce, who really changed my life, he always challenged us. He's like, listen, you guys don't have to do this for a living. If you're gonna come in here, I'm gonna give you guys all the tools you need if this is something that you want to do, or if you want to go into public speaking. Like he saw the internet coming, is the way I think about it. He saw like, oh, being a content creator becoming the thing. This is when Facebook. I mean, at that point it was just Facebook. That's all. Yeah. And he was like, you know, he really saw this world where people are going to be online and going to be on, you know, everybody's going to be a TV station to themselves type of thing. So you're going to want to have this as an asset. I was like, wow, okay. Because the people who are like content creators and are not actors, they just picked up their phone and started doing skits and stuff.
Right.
You know? So it's so crazy how it's a tool that even the everyday person is just using in their lives nowadays because of the internet and content creating cultures. Anyway, fast forward, I do that class and it was such an amazing like reawakening situation. I remember he told me, he was like, Dayo, like, what's your major? And I told him my major and he was like, you ever wanted to be an actor or anything like that? I was like, yeah, I actually did, you know, when I was in high school, but I kind of didn't, you know, I'm from Nigeria, man. Like it's not something to happen. My brain didn't even go in that direction. He was like, listen, I'm only going to say this one time, but like, if this is something that you want to do, there's a part of you that wants to do this, like you can do it with the best of the best. You can do it. And I was like, wow. And I remember just that sat with me for a very, very long time. Yeah. Like it really, really sat with me. And I remember there was a play that we were doing. And one of the guys in that acting class with me, Adam Tran, was like, bro, we should do this play. And I was like, oh, I don't know about that, man. I don't know. Like, I haven't done a play since I was in high school. I just started this class. And when we walked out of class one day, there was like they were doing like auditions for this one play. And he was like, you should do it, man. So he went, he got the information about it. I'm just living my life, minding my business. He comes to my dorm room. He's like, bro, all they want you to memorize is just like this little monologue. It's like half a page. I'm like, Adam, what are you doing, bro? Like he was forcing it on me. And he was like, here it is. It's a little thing from Fences. You know this play called Fences? I was like, no. He's like, just learn this little thing. Wow. So I learned it, went, auditioned, got the play. And then we got to do that play not only in school, but then we did the play at the at the National Theater in Indiana, where I went to college. So that summer, I was doing this play, and I was like, whoa, like, this is amazing. Like, it's one of the things where when God has something for you, it will literally chase you. I didn't lift a finger to get that thing. This guy was bringing it to me, Adam. I still know Adam till today, man. So shout out to him, because he was also another person who came in and moved the needle. And then I remember like writing my parents this long email. Sorry if this story's a little long, but it's going to culminate and make a whole lot of sense to Hunger Games, because that to me was the one that really snowballed everything. But did the play, came back home, wrote my parents this long email, like, after college, I want to go to LA for a year. I want to pursue acting for a year, and sent them the email. And like 10 minutes after sending the email, my dad calls me all the way from Nigeria. He's like, what am I reading here? What's this? So we had a conversation about it. And then he was like, I want you to put together a plan for how long it's going to be, how long you're going to be there, how much it's going to cost, how you're going to make money, how you're going to Cool. So I did that. The very next day, I went to my alumni program, and I said, I need a list of alumni living in LA in the film business. I was like, because I didn't know anybody living in LA. So they sent me a list. Shout out to Anderson University's alumni program. I'm just giving everybody their flowers right now. And so I went through the list, and I emailed literally like maybe 20 people on that list, and only like 4 people emailed me back. And one of them was a guy called Marcus York. And I remember at the time, he was such an inspirational guy. He's now passed away. Rest in peace, Marcus. But he was in a wheelchair. He had an accident when he was in the 80s. So he was in a wheelchair, paralyzed from the waist down. But he was acting. Like, he was like in Law and Order. He was on The Office. He had credits. You know what I mean? And I was like, wow. Like, okay, if this guy can make it happen, like, I think I can do something. So he was like, hey, how you doing? I was like, yeah, I'm going to be in LA. I think I lied. So I'm going to be in LA like in a couple of months. I'd love to take you out to coffee, and I want to be an actor. He's like, all right, cool. Meet me at Aroma Cafe. He like set it up. And I was like, whoa, crap, now I got to go to LA. So just prayed to God about it, saved up a little bit of money, went out to LA, met with him. He's like, I'm looking for a roommate. I have a spot in Venice, California. The rent is $700. I said, I'm in.
Yep.
Ooh, the days.
Literally, it was just like that. And then I remember I applied. I remember I went back to, so I flew out to LA literally for a weekend. Met with him, flew back, and I was like, wait. On the flight back, I said, God, like, I don't even have like status. Like, my student visa was coming to an end. Didn't have OPT. Wasn't a citizen. Nothing like that. I said, if this is what you're telling me, because a lot of this is happening really quickly. And I said, if it keeps happening, I'll keep going until it stops. So God, at any point in this journey, just put the roadblock, and I will go back home with quickness. Got back to Indiana, applied for OPT. If you know anything about OPT, you need to have a job to apply for OPT. Meaning you need your job, meaning, okay, I have OPT, I'm working for Apple. Apple has to fill that OPT. So when you go to the American government, Apple is vouching, hey, we hired him. He's an exceptional programmer or whatever. We'd like to hire him. The government gives you a work permit. You can stay in the country. I did not, the place where you're supposed to put the employer was blank. And I sent it in. About a week later, I get OPT.
Look at God.
I don't think anybody has ever gotten OPT without a job.
Right.
Like, I still think somebody was just sleeping on the job, meaning somebody was looking at the files. What was that? And just stamped yes on my thing and kept it pushing, because it doesn't make any sense. So I got OPT, and I was like, whoa. And my family's like, what? I remember I just sat and I looked at the thing. I was like, all right. So I prayed, and I told God, if you open the door, I'll go. So moved to LA, was living with Marcus York at the time in Venice. And he was another person who was incredible. He had a church in Bel Air that he used to go to. So I used to go to church in Bel Air. And then he was like, look, this is how you do it. You want to get this publication called Backstage West. They're going to be auditions in the back page. You want to go to auditions. You want to send your headshots to every agency in LA. Nobody is going to hit you back because you have no credits, but just do it anyway, because you never know.
Yeah.
These are 4 or 5 acting classes. Just there you go, hit the road. And that was it. So I moved to LA and sent my headshots to about 40 agencies. Not one called me back. So he was right about that. And then just started like going to, I had a subscription for Backstage West, and I just go to the back page and all the auditions were there, and you start sending yourself up for stuff. And it's like, it's not even good stuff. It's like, oh, they need like background stuff or, little things here and there. It's not real meaty acting work. But I was just so excited to be there. And then to make money, I knew like I didn't want to be a waiter, because I wanted something where I had ownership of my time. And sometimes people who got jobs that couldn't leave their jobs to go shoot something because, oh, damn.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
So what I did was, being that I went to college for graphic design, I knew how to code. I knew Java at the time. I knew Dreamweaver, so I could build websites and take headshots for people. So what I would do is I would go to acting classes, meet actors. Hey, you need new headshots? I can take headshots for you. I could put your reel on a website. I could put all your pictures on the website. So that's how I was making money. So that worked out perfectly. Again, that's God using what I went to college for to be able to have ownership of your time. So if there was an audition, I could go. And then other people, oh man, I got work, I can't go. You see, I'm already, just that alone, I'm already ahead of the game because my time is mine. And so I was going to this acting class. I'm going to try to speed up the story now. I was going to this acting class with an actor named Jeffrey Tambor, who he has now been canceled. That's another story.
Yeah.
But I was going to class with him, and there was about 50 of us in the class. And he's like, oh, this other guy named Matthew Berry, who's a casting director. He wants to meet new actors. And I looked him up, and this guy had done a bunch of stuff. He'd cast the Rush Hour movies. He'd done a bunch of like comedies and stuff. I was like, oh, man. And he was like, if you guys, he wants to meet new actors. He's like, he's tired of seeing the same people. He just wants to meet new, fresh faces. That if you don't have anything you're doing, you should go. I said, bet. And they were like, here, a bunch of different audition material. Just learn one of these so you're prepared to work in this session that he's doing. So I went. Out of the 50 of us, only 3 of us showed up. So only 3 of us. By the way, this is about a year now that I've been in LA. Because after I graduated in 2009, I moved to LA February of 2010. And when I tell you nothing was happening, nothing was happening. I've been in LA almost a year now. And I told my parents, I need a year. So by February the next year, they're looking at me like,
what's up?
All right. So it's now January of 2010 and nothing is happening. I go to this acting class and I meet this guy, Matthew Berry, and I read for him. And he's like, you're really good. Like, who's your agent? Because there's some stuff I'm casting right now that I'd like you to come in for. And I said, no, I don't have an agent. Like, what's up? What do you need me for? And he was like, really? And he looked at another guy, Felipe Fregan, who I'm still friends with today. He looked at Felipe and he was like, this guy doesn't have an agent? And then he looked at me and he said, that's going to change very quickly. I said, okay, let's go. Right. And that was just enough encouragement. I always tell people, like, you can go a year in a drought and every step of the way, a little piece of word or a little piece of encouragement is sometimes all you need, because at that point I really hadn't done anything, but it was just a little bit of encouragement here. Somebody just reaffirms you. You feel like, okay, I'm moving in the right direction. I'm not here for no reason. And so after that happened, I remember I went to church at that time. It's so funny because this is what we're in April right now, right? So we're coming on Easter. So this time of the year always is special for me. Because after I had that meeting, it was Ash Wednesday. I had that meeting. That Sunday, they're like, hey, we're doing Lent. If you've never done Lent before, there's a little booklet. It's a little 40-day booklet. Every day is going to be a devotional, a little thing to meditate on. And at that point, I'd never really done Lent. I mean, I'd done the forced Lent where you're a kid and like you're sneaking like candy and stuff because you're like, well, my mom want me not to eat. Like, this is crazy. But I was like, no, let me really try this. Let me just really lean into my faith. Like, I was raised Christian, but it's one thing to call yourself something, but there's another thing to live it. And at that point, man, my pockets was thin. You know what I mean? So I was coming up on February, and I was like, this is it. If it's gonna happen, it's gotta happen now. I really was desperate for it. And so I was like, let me do this Lent thing, right? So I started doing it, and then I get a call one day from Kanika. Kanika calls me, she's like, hey, how you doing? Is this Dayo? And I say, yeah. And she goes, hey, Philippe, a friend of mine is Felipe Fregan. He works with this casting director, Matthew Berry. He saw you and called me, and he raved about how amazing you were and da-da-da-da-da. If it's okay, would you mind coming into our office? We'd like to meet with you if that's okay. I said, what you mean if it's that's? I'm coming right now. Like, you know what I'm saying? And she was like, cool. So she was like, yeah, just come in and, we'd like to meet with you and all this stuff. And I didn't have a car in LA at the time, and I lived in Venice. So she told me we live in, her office at the time was in the hills. So I went and I like Googled it, and I was like, oh my God, like it's like 3 hours away by bus. The LA busing is terrible, right? Absolutely. So to get to where she was without a car, man, okay. So the next day, I think I woke up at like 4 a.m. because you have to catch a series of buses from Venice to make a meeting that was supposed to be at 11 a.m., right? And it never rains in LA. Never rains in LA. That day, it was raining. When I tell you I was wet, I was wet. I remember at the time I used to carry this little messenger bag. So I had the bag on my head. I said, God, like, what is this, man? But I was like, we here now. Like, so I remember she opened the door and I just acted like I wasn't wet. Like, I just acted like everything was fine. Hey, how you doing, Dayo? Nice to meet you. And she's like, are you okay? Like, you need a towel or something? I was like, oh, yeah. I go inside and I'm like, I'm afraid to sit on the furniture because I'm wet. And she's like, no, oh my God. So they put a towel on the chair and I sat down and she was like, just, tell me about yourself. And she used to work with this other guy at the time, David Sweeney. But then Kanika went on her own and I went with her. But David was an amazing guy. He was cool. So she's like, just tell us about yourself. And by the way, I haven't done anything. All I have was the credits that I had from like college. I think I put like my high school plays on there as well, like, just to make the resume look like there was something on there. And I had a headshot, didn't have a reel, didn't have any kind of footage that could show I could act at all. And she was like, just tell us about yourself. So I'm like, yo, I'm Nigerian. My mother's Kenyan. I grew up in this, I went to college. And, I just really feel like this is my calling and I love performance. I've been on stage, And midway through, I remember David stopped me. He was like, stop. He was like, I like you. We like him, right? And he's looking around the office and everybody's like, because he's the boss. Yeah. And he's like, Dayo, I just like you. We're not going to sign anything, but, let's send you on some stuff. Let's just see how you do. Right. Yeah. And I was like, so I go back home. I remember my best friend at the time, Alex Davis, we went to college together. I'm like, Al, like, bro, like they said they were going to send me out on some stuff. He was like, really? I was like, cool. I was like, wow, this is happening. So I'm writing it in the Lent, book. I'm like, oh, met Konica Sui today. A week goes by. 2 weeks go by. They haven't called me nothing. I'm like, yo, what's going on? Me and my boy Alex replayed that meeting. He said, what exactly did they say? What did they say exactly? I said, bro, they said they want to send me on some stuff. What do they mean by that? They mean like, what? So anyway, one day Konica calls me and she's like, oh, Dayo, I'm so sorry. We've been so busy. It's pilot season. I didn't even know what pilot season was. I was so green. She's like, it's pilot, which is basically, for those of you who are listening to podcasts, pilot season is the time of the year where all the TV networks shoot the pilot episodes of a bunch of shows. And the ones that really work make it to air. So a lot of actors want to book a pilot. So she's like, oh, it's pilot season. There's a lot of stuff going on. So we've been really swamped. But we have a couple of auditions for you we'd like to send you on. And the first one is the Hunger Games. You're not going to get it. But we know the casting director, Deborah Zane, really well. And we like her taste. And if she says you're good, we'll believe you're good. You're not gonna get it. We mentioned that, right? You're not going to get the part. I said, yeah. So my mission was just to be good enough that she would tell Konica, he's good. You can sign him. Because they had told me very clearly, you're not going to get this part. They're not looking for like green people. We just want you to go read for her. Because I said, cool. So I went in. The audition was like a page and a half. I must have practiced that thing like 50 million times, just over and over again. Me and my best friend at the time. He's still my best friend, Alex. And going to the audition, I read it the first time, kill it. Actually, Deborah Zane she wasn't even in the session. It was her associate, like her assistant, was the one who read me. Because I'm sure she was like, who? No. So her associate read me. And I read it the first time and she was like, do it again, but do this. She gave me like a little note. And I did it again. And it was just a way that she nodded. It was a way she nodded at me. And I never tell people this part of the story because people say you're bullshitting or like you're lying, case may be. But I remember I walked out of that office and I said, I just booked the Hunger Games. Yep. I knew it. Wow. I just knew it like I knew it like I know the sun is going to rise tomorrow. Yep. Wow. But if you tell people that, people go, oh, you know what I mean? But when God puts something on your heart, it is clear as day. It is so clear. Mm-hmm. You just have to quiet the noise of your life to hear it. But it's clear. The quieter your life is, the clearer you hear God. I believe that. Mm-hmm. And I went back home and I was like, yo, Alex, bro, I got this. He was like, yeah, you did. Alex, my dog, man. He was like, yeah, you did. And I remember in that book, which I still have, I wrote, I am going to be in the Hunger Games. I wrote it. I swear. And so after that, I was like, they sent me on a bunch of other stuff. So Deborah tells them, oh, he's good. We saw his material. It's actually really good. So they still didn't sign me. They were like, let's send him on. So they sent me like on CSI this and Law and Order that. I remember like Glee was a hot show at the time. So they sent me on audition for Glee and all this other stuff, but I'm not booking. None of that stuff's booking. And then every other day, they were like, oh, Dayo, your tape. This producer saw your tape for the Hunger Games, really liked it. They passed it on to this person. Oh, interesting. But you're not going to get it. So, but just that should be encouraging, right? Konica is telling me this, right. Like, they like your tape. So I'm going on other stuff. It's not really working out. Going on other stuff. It's not really working out. Konica sends me, oh, maybe you should take some classes, So cool. I was like, I'll take whatever class you tell me to take. And then she calls again. She's like, oh, Dayo, like, I forget who I think Brian Uncless was the producer. She said, Brian Uncless at Lionsgate just emailed us and said, your tape is, people love your tape. They're passing your tape around the office. I said, yeah, girl, like, sign me. Like,
what more do you want from me?
What more do you want? Exactly, man. I want to want some Tyrese for real. What more do you want from me? And so I'm doing Lent at the time, and I remember it was Good Friday. Oh, by the way, I've run out of money at this point, so I applied for a job at Apple, which is so funny because I'm shooting a TV show for Apple now. I literally walked into an Apple store. I said, listen, I need a job. Applied for a job at Apple. So I'm going through the process, the interviews. They do like 7 interviews. It's a ridiculous process. And then I get the job at Apple. On Good Friday, they call me. They say, hey, you need to get on a plane to go to Cupertino to go do training, like orientation. Congratulations, welcome to Apple. I'm like, oh, man, thank God I can make some money on the side. That same day, I get a call from Konica and my other manager, David. And they're like, hey, Dayo, how you doing? Do you want to come into office real quick? I said, yeah, sure. So I get on the bus. And then I get to the office the next day, which was Saturday. And they said, First of all, here's a contract. It basically says we take 10% of anything that you make if you book something. I did not read that contract. Thank God Kanika is just a good human being, and like the contract is like a good contract. I signed it without reading a word. I signed it. Boom.
Wow.
Kids at home, do not do that ever. Read everything. But I didn't. I signed it with the quickness. As soon as I signed it, they go, that's good. Okay. So the studio has pinned you for the role. It's down to you and about 3 other people. Tomorrow, you're going to go into Gary Ross's house. He's going to do a screen test with you for the role, along with 2 other guys. And if you get it, here's a contract, basically, because that's how they try to win. They want to. So you have no negotiation power. So you actually do your contract for if you get the part before you go and test.
Yeah.
Welcome to Hollywood, right? So I'm like, all right, cool. So I see the number, the more money that I've ever seen in my life, which was not even that much money at the time, you know, and in retrospect. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. Like, Dayo, congratulations. This is incredible. We've never seen anything like this before. I was like, y'all just called me to the office to sign this, because if I don't sign this, if I get this movie, I get to keep the money 100%.
Yeah.
So they were like, let's just get something on paper right away, right? So I sign it. The next day comes, they cancel the test. They're like, Gary can't meet with you today. He's gonna meet with you on Tuesday. I'm like, oh man, like what the heck's going on? Because I'm now you're antsy about it. You're super antsy about it. And so, you know, I'm learning my material. That morning, Tuesday comes. Now it's past Palm Sunday. Easter is done. At the end of Lent, I dap up Alex. He's like, bro, you're gonna kill it. All this stuff. He was working at Radio Shack at the time. He's like, bro, you're gonna kill it, man. You know, go in there, be confident, bro. You got this. It's for you. All this stuff. He goes to work. I'm in the mirror. I'm rehearsing. Because I think the test was like at 2:00 or something. And then I got a call from Kanika. She's like, hey, Di, how you doing? Yeah, they canceled the test again. They found their guy. This is what Kanika told me.
Yeah.
I was like, but the Nigerian in my mind was like, okay, everything in life is a test, right? You have to also show them that you deal with heartbreak very well. So I said, oh, okay, well, what about the Glee thing? What about, I just moved on from it very quick. I was like, oh, it is what it is. What about this? What about that? She was like, do you hear what I said? I said, yeah. You said they found, yeah, it happens, you know, but upwards and onwards. And then when she said that, I could hear David on the phone. Maybe they thought I couldn't hear. And David's like, what's he saying? What's he saying? I was like, what? What's he saying? What's he saying? And then she was like, oh, you're no fun. I said, what? She's like, you're no fun. I was like, what do you mean? She was like, they called us this morning and canceled the test. Gary said I don't have to see him again. He got give him the role. Just call him and tell him he got the part.
Wow.
I was like, what? And she was like, Dayo, congratulations. You just got the Hunger Games. And I couldn't even be excited. I was like, oh, okay. What happens now? Like, she was like, you're no fun. You're no fun. She was like, you just got the Hunger Games. She was like, listen, you can't tell anybody, but you're lucky because your casting is going to break in the next 2 hours. Was what she told me. Just don't tell anybody in the next 2 hours. You know, she's like, there are other people who have been cast for months now. So they've been sitting on the news for a while, but you can, at least yours is just a couple of hours. So I didn't even understand what that meant. I was like, okay, it's gonna break. Okay, cool. So I get off the phone now. I don't know what to do with the rest of my day. I had this whole plan for the day. So I'm just in my apartment like, oh shit. Because, you know, I knew who was going to be in the movie. And so I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to work with Jennifer Lawrence. I'm going to because I've read the book. I know the scene. So I know, okay, a day is going to come where I'm going to look her in her eyeball and do the scene. And then 2 hours go by. And I remember my Instagram. There was not Instagram, my Twitter started going crazy. And then I opened it up and it was like CNN, IMDb, Deadline, Variety. And it was like my picture and Amanda Stenberg's picture. And it was like, first two tributes have been cast in the Hunger Games, Suzanne Collins. And then my followers are just like going crazy. And I was like, whoa, what the hell is this? This is crazy. And I was like, I probably should call my parents because I don't want them to find out randomly. So I called my folks and I told them I'm going to be in the movie. And my sister knew about the Hunger Games. So yeah, me and my sister was like, what the hell? You're going to be trash? I was like, yeah. She's like, that's crazy. You know that? She's not telling me everything in the book. You know that? I'm like, calm down, dog. And then my dad was like, they're going to pay you. I was like, yeah, they're going to pay me, bro. And he was like, oh, okay. Well, you know, congratulations. So yeah, I'm guessing you're not coming back this month. I said, no, dog, I'm definitely not coming. Because I'd reached my year, you know? Yeah. And then I remember my boy Alex came back from work and I was like, oh man, I'm going to do the same thing my agents did to me. So when he comes back, at the time he comes back from work is the time I was supposed to be at the test. So he comes back and he thinks he's in the apartment alone. So he comes back and he sees me on the couch. He's like, bro, what? I was like, damn, bro, yeah, they canceled the test. He was like, no. He was like, those fuckers, man, fuck them, bro. They don't know what they're doing, bro. Like, who? Like, bro, who they cast, bro? Like, who? I was like, bro, yeah, they cast somebody else. He was like, really? I was like, yeah, man, the news actually broke, bro. You can Google it, but it's cool, man. We'll get another one. He's like, nah, bro. So he goes to his computer and he opens it up. He's like, bro, I need to know who they. And he just came and gave me a hug on the couch, and it was like crazy. And like literally, that movie was so big that like I remember right after I got cast. Now all these agencies. Remember I told y'all I sent my headshot resume to about 40 agencies. Oh, all of a sudden they want to meet you now just because of a headline. I haven't shot a frame of the movie. And it was like, oh, the president of Universal wants to meet you. Oh, the president of Lionsgate wants to meet you. Oh, the president of Paramount wants to meet you. So I went to all these studios. They just want to get a look at you. What's so special? Why were you casting this? And then I met with CAA, ICM, WMA, WME, UTA, all these agencies. Now they're pitching you. Dayo, we really think that you'd be a great asset to our agency, and this is what we think you can do. Like, oh, interesting. I haven't even shot a frame of the movie, so I was like, I don't think I'm going to take an agent yet. Even my managers were like, Conic was like, you don't have to take an agent right now. Go shoot the movie. Let's get more leverage. Sometimes you don't want to do a deal right away. You want to know what you have. And we just knew that movie was going to smack. So I went to North Carolina, shot the movie. It was just the most amazing experience. Everybody on that movie was amazing. We were all young. We were all, for most of us, it was like the first thing we had ever done. So we had that camaraderie of learning everything for the first time, and I mean, it was like Vanity Fair came and did a photo shoot of us on set. Yeah. Said, what? Like crazy stuff like that. And then you're in Entertainment Weekly, you're doing GQ, you're doing like all this crazy stuff. So it was such a high. It was such a high. And then, all of a sudden studios are trying to pin you for stuff. So I remember right after Hunger Games, it was like Runner, Spectacular Now, Endless Love, Terminator, right in a row. So you go from having no career, no nothing. Like I started Lent in 2010 with nothing, like no agent, no prospects, nothing. And by Easter Sunday, I had a manager and I was in the number one, like the biggest movie of the years. Wow. Number one, God is Real, God rules. And acting is the only job I've ever done. I've never worked in corporate America, never done like, this has been all I've ever done, and there are a lot of people out there who like their goal is just to be a working actor. And I get it. And I've been fortunate to just be a working actor my whole career. Every job has just slowly led to the next job. So yeah, Hunger Games is definitely that one. It was the gift that just kept on giving. You know what I mean? Like, did Shades of Blue after that. We did Rise, like you mentioned. And then did animation for the first time last year. I did a Disney Plus series called Iwaju.
Yeah.
It was so cool to do that with Disney. For Disney to do the first Nigerian thing and to be able to voice that, very dope. Very, very dope. So yeah, and then now doing Dark Matter in Chicago. Oh man, I was gonna give you all a little spoiler, but I think I'm gonna hold on to this one.
You can.
I'll put it to you this way. Yeah. The character I play on Dark Matter in season 1 the show is based off a book, and the character description in the book is extremely limited. I don't think he's even black in the book. So when I came on, I did a show on Apple TV called C with Jason Momoa. So that was my first relationship with Apple. So when this show came along, it was a lot condensed. They knew who I was and all that. So I did the part and, was able to give it enough color. But going into season 2, we want to we're really expanding the character. Okay, what's his past? What's his history? Where's he from? All that stuff. Yeah. So a lot of that, the writer be like, yo, Dayo, where's your dad from? Where's your mom from? What's your dad's name? Oh, okay. And then I'll open the scripts and I'm like, oh, so he's this now. Very interesting. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of that happening. And I was like, that is very, very cool. You see how I'm doing? I'm very media trained. So you see what I'm doing? So there's a lot of stuff in there that I think a lot of people from where I'm from will be quite pleased to see with the character. Because he wasn't originally supposed to be that, but there's a lot of Dayo in that character now, which is very, 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 very cool. Anywhere to be able to see that kind of reflection in very high science fiction, very cool.
Absolutely. Wow, a TFG exclusive.
Yeah, a little exclusive.
We'll highlight that. Now we got you. Just keep the exclusives coming.
Yeah.
Tanina, do we want to get into a bit of like the creative process and advocacy?
Yeah.
So sorry, that was my very long. Sorry, that was a very long-winded way of just saying that, like, how being Nigerian informed and
absolutely
informed how my career.
No, we love it, and I was gonna. Yeah, we're all for it. you are such a great storyteller. I felt like there were so many times I wanted to interject and be like, that sounds like a movie.
I kept getting closer and closer to the screen.
No, me too. I was like, yeah, I was trying to not make an expression that I usually make when I'm watching, like, you know, like mouth open, like, you know, I was trying not to make those expressions because I was very, very tapped in with the story. So I'm interested to see the works, what you're producing and the things that you're writing, because even just you telling us about your journey, that story was just so magnificent, powerful. We just did an episode talking about faith, so it just seemed like everything's just
you saw that.
Yeah, amazing all around. Just how you eloquently speak about your passion is inspiring. And I know acting is your passion. I assume. I don't know if you said that, but I assume it's your passion. And you have other ventures that you've explored into, like PVO Global, as well as a Red ambassador. So how did those two opportunities come around? And
I'll start at PVO because PVO was really built. You know, Red was already a thing, and they came to us, and that just came from who I am. And you know, they always want, you know, young people or people in the industry to be able to talk to their fan bases about what they're doing. So that was Red just saying, "Oh, we like Dayo. He's cool. Like, please come talk about Red." But I'd known Red from when I was in college, because when I was in visual communications design, I studied their branding. And I remember I used to go to my design class and I used to be like, "Yo, look, I like this brand." You know, I'd use them as an example of like really good logo design, really good, like, you know, across like they just had really good synergy in their branding. So I used to talk about them all the time. So funny how like you'll have something like that and then you'll just wake up and be in a dream and you'll be working with them.
Yeah.
So that was Red, really. But PVO, I just moved to New York at the time. I was in a TV show called Shades of Blue, which I loved. That was for 3 seasons with Jennifer Lopez and Ray Liotta. Really amazing show. Love being in that show. And I had reconnected with a couple of my friends that I grew up with. One of them being Chi Ude, and then my other partner, really one of my best friends, Chinasa. We call him Nas.
Shout out to Nas.
So all my friends are Igbo. Shout out to Nas.
Hey, Nas.
So I just reconnected with them, and what up, bro? And you know, that summer we would go out a lot, you know, and we just go to different events, and we just felt like really curated events for Black people was lacking. You know, this is 2014, really 2014, 2015. And maybe Everyday People was just kind of getting started at that time, but even that was very touch and go. You'd get to the event, there was really no pomp and circumstance. It was always chaos getting in, where VIP this, general, like what, you know. And I remember when we went to some event, we're like, yo, this can be done better. Like, you know, it's just the same thing. You go somewhere, get a section. You know, it just didn't feel like community, really. And we were like, so we had a conversation about that. Nas is so funny, man. Nas is just one of those people, like, you sit down with him for an hour and next thing you know, you've already started 6 businesses. So Nas was like, no, I was like, no, we got to do something, man. We got to do something, man. We too young and good looking, bro. We got to go into business. That's a direct quote. He's like, yo, we're too young and good looking, man. So Nas called a meeting. He's like, yo, we should meet in Soho, New York. There's a spot called the Whiskey Room. He's like, we should meet there. Dayo, you come with 5 ideas. Chi, you come with 5 ideas. I'm coming with 5 ideas, man. We should build something. So I go there and I remember Chi talked about cryptocurrency at the time, which is crazy. This was a long time ago. He talked about crypto and do we know anything about it? And he was like, yo, I think you guys should buy some crypto. So we did that. Did very well on that because we got Ethereum very early, got XRP very early at the time. So that really, really paid off. Shout out to Chi, man. Listen, what God says, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. If you have good people around you, y'all come up together and just put yourself around the smartest people ever and you'll do all right. So that came from that. And then Nas was like, man, I don't know what we're going to do, but whatever we do, we got to call it PVO. He said, what's that? He said, positive vibes only. And we went, ooh, that just sounded so dope. Yes. And so we said, what are the things that we want to do? We were like, New York really needs very curated events for Black people that is centered around community. We want people to be able to come in, feel like you're a part of a community, have a great time. It's not about flashy. It's not a carnal space. And it's specifically for people in our age group. At the time, we were like late 20s, early 30s. So it's a very niche group in terms of age, because we wanted you to be able to dress up and come through and not be around a bunch of really young people, you know what I mean? Or like be around like a crazy older crowd. It was a very specific target we were trying to hit. And then the charitable component was my contribution. I was like, listen, it'd be really cool if you could do a thing where, like, I remember we had gone out one time and spent a ridiculous amount of money and woke up the next morning, you look at the receipt in your pocket and go, you know? And so we were like, what if we could do something that was like, that could make people feel better about that experience? If you knew, okay, I spent that, but 20% of that is going to go to some kid that can't eat. So, okay, make you feel a little bit better about yourself. So I was like, if we could add a charitable component to that as well, that'll be great. So that's kind of how that was born. And then we did our first event in New York, and it was very successful. And people really loved the idea, because when they would come to the event, we would educate them on something that was happening locally that they could get involved with, and we would highlight that. And then we're like, you know what, the third bottle you buy is going to go to this whatever, you know what I mean? So we would be able to do that. So now you're not just popping bottles for nothing. There's a whole lot of that happening for nothing. People go out, have a great time, spend thousands of dollars for no reason. We're like, no, we should be able to change that narrative. So positive vibes only is PVO. Positive vibes only. Turn up for a cause, right? It's kind of like our slogan. You turn up for a cause, because it's a whole bunch of just stunting for nothing going on. So that was really how that was born, and it just kind of organically grew. You know, we did New York on our own. We didn't have any sponsors at the time. I remember I had a relationship with Moet and Shandon in Nigeria, because they wanted to do something with me at the time, and I was just coming off the Hunger Games. I was the oldest in the Hunger. I think when I did Hunger Games, I was 23, and they were like, "Oh, we want you, Dayo, to come and do like a champagne campaign."
Champagne campaign. I'm gonna write that down.
In Nigeria. And I remember my team going, we don't really think that will age you up too much. And they still wanted me to be able to play high school at the time, college age. We're not quite ready for that yet, but we had that relationship. So I remember I hit up the girl that I knew at the time, and I was like, hey, you know, I want to do this thing called PVO. She bought it right away. So they sponsor our Nigerian event 100%. They give us cases, they give us decor, all this stuff. And so that was really great. But so that's how PVO really was born. And then it just kind of grew. You know, we started doing like mental health dinners, a mental health mixer, which is just a mixer about a space where people can come just talk about, okay, if you want to get into therapy, how do you do that? Where do you go? What are the resources for that? Because we did our research, and a lot of Black folks just don't do that kind of research online. They rather ask a friend, oh, who's your therapist, and get the number from that person and call that person, as opposed to just like researching. So we're like, all right, cool, let's create that space where we can feel that. And then we're like, okay, we realize sometimes men and women in the same room are not willing to share that much. So like, cool, we'll do a dinner just for men. We called it Gentle Mental Vibes. So that's the dinner just for men to vibe about mental health. And then we have one for women, which is the Pioneer Brunch, for women to kind of do the same. But the Pioneer Brunch is also more of like a celebration of Black women, just because without fail, every single event that we've ever done, women buy more tables than men, 100%. Women buy more tickets than men. They spend more money at the bar than men. They go crazy at tables more than men. Y'all, we have built PVO on the backs of Black women, 100%. So our Pioneer Brunch is really just celebrating women, giving back to them. And we give these little cute plaques. Maker's Mark sponsors that event. So we have a little award called the Make Her Mark Award. And we give it to some women that we think are just kicking ass in their field, you know. And sometimes you don't feel like you're being seen. We're like, no, we see you. There you go. And it's not like Beyonce or somebody, you know. Sometimes it's like, oh, the people who already know that they're killing it are getting the awards. It's like, Beyonce knows she don't need a Grammy to know she's killing it. It was like, but like, you know, if you just, you know, got this job as a product manager at Amazon and you're kicking it, and you know, you just went into the higher six figures, but nobody, like, man, who's going to tell me I'm doing a good job? PVO will tell you you're doing a good job. So that's how PVO was kind of born, you know. And it's just kind of grown. Of course, Ghana is our biggest event. We do a New Year's Eve in Ghana with Afrofuture. We do like 3,000 people. Wow. We did 3,000 people last December. So that's a massive, massive event. We did Cape Town for the first time this year, January, which was amazing. Love Cape Town. So we're going to go back to Cape Town again.
Absolutely. Yeah, that Ghana one.
It's a little bit of everything.
Back in 2023, I think. I was there.
Yeah.
At the best time ever.
There you go.
I gotta go back.
Ghana is beautiful chaos, but you gotta love it.
That was a good time.
Yeah, but Ghana's getting too expensive, man. They gotta relax, man. I think because I feel like in 2023 when I went, I think like we got like me and my boys got like a little like suite, and it was like, I think it was like $250 a night, and it was really nice, you know. Two big bedrooms, big kitchen, big balcony, had a pool, a gym, all this stuff. There was even a restaurant. I tried to book that stuff last December. It was $1,200 a night.
Jesus.
Yes.
Like, what is going on?
Jesus is right. Dollars. USD. I said,
She
brother. So y'all know you got it now, huh?
Basically.
Wow. Charlie went crazy on this one. But yeah, 1,200. I said, bro, like 2 years ago it was 250. He said, brother, that price has
That's
changed.
super inflation.
Yesterday's price is not today's price. Shut up.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's why we kind of would think about setting our sights on South Africa. Because SA is still extremely cheap. I don't know if you guys have ever been.
No, it's on the
Not
list.
yet. It's top of my travel list.
I promise you. After this year, last year was amazing. Super, super affordable. We were down there, but the word is getting out. People are knowing now. K-Tronada had an amazing concert. So I'm prepared to drop some coin even this year. But I think this year is the last year of it being affordable. I mean, Ubers are like you can take an Uber for like 20 minutes, 25 minutes, $7. Like Uber for 40 minutes, $12. It's so affordable. Like we go out, big dinner, like really nice dinner, right?
Yeah.
For about 7 of us, we're all drinking cocktails, appetizers, all that stuff. Bill will come for like 7 people, $1.80.
Wow.
What? It's crazy. Yeah. I don't know what they're doing down there, South Africa, Cape Town. So yeah, I'll recommend put that one on the list this year. I promise you're not gonna regret it. But I think after this year, like January of when I say this year, I mean like really January of next year. But like January of 2027, forget it. It's gonna be too much. Yeah, they're gonna run it up. So this is your last year to get in. I love that part of PBL, really getting to travel with you.
This has just been so amazing. So I just been like, yeah, tell us more. Literally, this is step by step how it happened and like walking by faith, to get all that. So there's so many.
I think what happens is I usually end up telling the story to like other actors because a lot of actors want to know, okay, what do I do? What's the step? And I realize I tend to tell that story a lot to actors, and more and more people are like, no, you should tell it. That story is so applicable to anybody in any field, in anything that they're doing. I just kind of I've just recently been sharing that story really everywhere. You know what I mean? And it being such a powerful story. And like I said, around this time of the year, the Lenten period, it always feels very timely to tell a story around this time. You know what I mean? Because it's like literally marks the anniversary at the beginning of my career, So yeah. Anytime I get the chance to tell it now, I just tell the story, and I tell it in full because I think initially when I used to tell the story, it's too amazing. Like humbly speaking, it's just so fantastical story. For a long time, I did a weird thing of cutting stuff out because I felt like people would think I'm over sensationalizing the story, but it's as God is my witness. That is exactly how it happened every step of the way. You know what I mean? And so when people always ask me like, what's the key to everything, really, I say God first. Honestly, it's God first. There's a lot of noise going on in the world. There are a lot of YouTube gurus who are trying to tell you to take an ice bath in the morning. What's your morning routine, this and that.
Yeah.
Listen,
just
touch earth with both knees and just say, God, I surrender. I don't know. Tell me what to do. Just put it on my heart and just give me the strength and the courage to go. Because most of the time, like the people who end up really succeeding are not the strongest, not the cutest, not the tallest, it's the people who just showed up. Some people, they just showed up, and you could be super talented. You could be all this, and you can pray as much as you want in your room, but you got to take action. You got to up. You know what I mean? So it's a combination of, definitely praying, getting that affirmation in your spirit, and then living as though you are already that person, right? So if you're like, man, I want to be Will Smith, I want to be Denzel, I want to be this. Okay, cool. What do you think that person does every day in the morning? What kind of diet do you think they have? Just do that, and then God will do the rest. He'll bring those things to you, and all you have to do is walk into it. I think there are a lot of, because hustle culture is also terrible. I did that in my 20s, and I think there's balance in life. You know what I mean? Get your sleep every night. Because I need my sleep. Get your sleep every night. Take care of yourself, and don't be greedy. There's this hustle culture, eat everything, do all the things. I want to enjoy my life. I work hard, and then I play hard, and I take my time and all that stuff. So yeah, that's really what worked for me. If what's working for you is working for you, go right ahead. But that's what's been working for me thus far. And if it ain't broke, I don't plan to fix it.
And that's on mental health awareness, because I love that.
Word.
Really appreciate it. Wow, Dayo. I mean, we could just keep you, but we'll definitely We'll definitely keep in touch because honestly, there's so much more for us to collaborate on. Just, again, just really appreciate you spending some time with the gems. So,
For sure.
Just want to push some current projects or upcoming things. Where can people connect with you to learn more about PBO, to learn more about the Red initiatives, to connect with you for any sort of tidbits or inspiration?
Yeah, well, they can find me. I'm on Instagram. Yeah, no, yeah, it's Dayo Okeniyi, DayoOkeniyi. But you can find me there. I'm currently on a TV show called Dark Matter, which is on Apple TV. The first season of the show is very available. If you have an iPhone, you basically have Apple for free. And then, and yeah, I mean, I have an animated series on Disney called Iwaju. I play Tunde, the father, and it's really cool. And currently shooting the second season of Dark Matter, which should come out at some point next year, hopefully in the summer of 2026. Yeah, and then you can come to PVO party. We have many PVO events over the course of the year. We have a really big PVO pool party in August in New York City. Come, it's gonna be a great time. We're taking over this whole rooftop in Long Island City. So it's going to be amazing. We're also going to do PVO in DC. We're going to do PVO Atlanta. We're going to have a PVO event in
Los
we are
Angeles.
working on it. LA is always difficult because we always try to figure out what's a good time to come.
Yeah.
And
There's good
LA,
weather year round.
and then LA people yell. But
Yeah.
so we're working on that. We need a whole different model for LA because LA people don't want to pay for anything. It's crazy. We're definitely doing Nigeria this year. We're doing Ghana this year. We're doing Cape Town this year as well. So it's a lot of PVO events that you can come to and catch us at. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I can't say thank you enough. I think you've dropped like a plethora of gems from the beginning of this conversation up until now. So
yeah, I hope so.
Just if you need some more, rewind, start this from the beginning. It's all there for y'all.
Yeah.
Listeners, if y'all want to stay connected with Dayo to learn more about his career journey and things popping up in a city near you, if you want to see these fly gems pop up in your city or collaborate in any capacity, just hit us up on thefirstgems.com. Follow us at The First Gems on Instagram, TikTok, just everywhere. Y'all know where to find us. Thank y'all again for tuning in and be great. Bye.
Welcome.